Hello everyone and welcome back to Tank Wars 2 Electric Boogaloo. I am your host Chromoid and we're going to look at the final losers bracket round 2 match of the tournament. Here we have on the left side Combat Group Delta 6, brought to you by, I keep forgetting his name. I'll get it in a second. I'll remember. Well, I'll get to you in a second. Facing off against not Thorkstick, but the Thork 17th Armored Corps by AdNecrias. Both these entries have already had competition in the tournament before. Both have been sent down here. The Delta Combat Group Delta 6 has been did fairly well in the winners bracket until being sent down here by its last fight, and now has to scrap among the losers for a chance to come back at the end of the tournament. Volken is the one who submitted Battle Group Delta 6. But with all that out of the way, let's get on with the fight. 3, 2, 1, go. As the Thork 17th Armored Corps descends and lays down their first volley, the non-stop firing of Battle Group Delta 6 has begun, and they just have this amazing amount of firepower. In fact, if you haven't watched it, the last match that they fought, where they actually lost, the biggest reason they lost was because the tanks they were up against could soak a lot of damage, and a lot of them got positioned in such a way that the battle group, which tends to like to form a firing line and just sit there, was hitting terrain rather than hitting their opponents, and they were simply just, firing into hills and not doing any damage while cram shells were arcing into them and dismantling them one by one. So they are no slouches. They just have had an unlucky break recently. This time they are facing an opponent that likes to get up close and personal with them, not sit at range and fire from across the map, and it looks like it's doing some decent work. Both sides are taking some damage. One armored combat vehicle, I believe it's the red one here in the center, is getting focused down by 3 Thorks. They are all piling into it. Unfortunately, gathering up like this could end up getting them shooting each other, but they're also absorbing a lot of fire from the surrounding ACVs that are just content to sit here and pour a lot of cannon fire into them. Thorks going up the sides here, some circling around the back. There's a couple that like to stay way away from the action. That one might actually start despawning if it gets too far away and accrues enough penalty points. But oh my goodness, excuse me. This one, this one poor Thork, that's the Thork B, getting absolutely pummeled by the ACVs around it. It seems that the repairs on the Thorks are enough to keep up with this barrage of firepower coming from the ACVs, but only just barely, as if they were all to focus fire, I'm pretty sure they would delete the tanks one by one. Unfortunately, they're not focusing fire quite as effectively as they could. They are getting this 1B down a bit, and every tank that you lose against a composition like this is a big loss, because it's one less tank to distract them. This sort of composition does very well when all of the units focus fire on one enemy. When they do that and they start eliminating you one by one, the fewer tanks you have, the less they have to distract them and to draw fire and scatter it around. The more focused their assault is going to be, and the quicker you lose tanks. Even if your tank is very well made and very sturdy, you can only take so many of these heat Hess shells before you start really feeling it. And you can see a couple of the ACVs in the back, the yellow one, the orange one there, are busy firing at something else. Ooh, that Thork tank is staying way out of the way, and it's going to start accruing penalty points more often if it continues staying out of combat like that. That's not good. Couple of the Thorks here have a tendency to sit on the outskirts and try to shoot across the map. With the terrain the way it is, I'm not sure it's the most effective thing. They want to actually get in here, surround these ACVs, and start picking them apart. ACVs are decently durable, but not enough to actually sustain themselves against a heavy amount of firepower, as we have seen in other combat scenarios. Two of the Thorks are now accruing penalty points. I think it's those two on the end, that one and that one. One is continually accruing penalty points and not drawing closer. I'm not sure. That might be a despawn for the Thorks, and I don't think they can afford that, not against the ACVs. They've cut one down to 77%. I think it's this one in the middle has been mostly just It's not been disabled, it's been hurt, but it's still alive, it's still firing, and they're starting to, the Thorks are starting to run out of time here. They're running out of materials, although they won't for a long while. They are about to run out of tanks. One's about to despawn itself. I'm pretty sure it's the one on the hill there. We'll see in a second. Nope, it's the one in the corner. The one in the corner has just despawned, and that puts the Thorks at an 83.9, whereas before they were just neck and neck with the Battle Group Delta 6. Now they are behind, and you do not want to be behind in a combat scenario like this with an opponent that likes to surround and drown. One of these tanks has already had its gun basically dismantled. You can see the insides of it have been destroyed. Looks like APS rail. Very, very high penetration. Pretty strong against heavily armored targets, especially since aim point selection is on. Aim point selection allows is a card you can put on your AI that allows your tanks to pick a location on their target and fire exclusively at that location, which is great when you have a high penetration gun and that doesn't do a lot of splash damage. You want to hit critical components quickly and stay focused on it. Ooh, one of the ACVs having been beheaded. That might be the break that the Thorks needed. That's going to be a DQ for that ACV. It's down to 50.8%, and that's going to cause it to despawn in a second here. Yeah, that's good. Oh, that's not the one. That's not the one. Which one is it? Which one just despawned? Oh, it was that one. Okay, I'm not paying attention. It wasn't rendering from up here. I thought another one was about to despawn. I was like, that's not good. Another ACV down to 46%. That one's also going to despawn. I'm not sure where it is. There, that one right there has lost its turret. It's been chopped off by the Thork firing at it, and the Thorks are starting to make a comeback. We're at 72 to 82%. The Thorks have proven to be durable enough to withstand the firestorm of the Battle Group Delta 6, and that's no small feat. These things can shred through armor, shred through blocks, and pretty quickly decapitate tanks, but they did not stay on target long enough. They did not focus their fire as effectively as they could, and even the super damaged Thorks that have been hurt, one Thork has been disqualified by distance, but that's about it. Even this heavily damaged Thorks have repaired through most of the damage and are still alive. Not very combat effective. I mean, they've lost turrets, they've lost firepower, but there's still enough of the smaller ones to, with enough firepower in the turrets, to do damage to the ACVs. The ACVs do not have the durability the Thorks do. I don't even know if they have repair bots on them, which could be a huge oversight if this goes on much longer. A battle of attrition seems to be going in favor of the Thorks right now. We're at 70% to 81.5%. It could still be anyone's tournament or anyone's match at this point. ACVs by far have more firepower than the Thorks do, and the Thorks, while they have more tanks and more hit points and are repairing fast, they are losing the ability to shoot back, and that's not going to help. You see here, it looks like a couple of shots from that ACV have finally found ammo storages on this Thork, and while the turret's still operable, that gun clearly isn't, and it's been pretty much disabled. Oh no, the gun still works. Oh no! It was below 55%. Oh, that's unfortunate. Two more Thorks want to come over and try to deal with this ACV. One is missing its gun, the other one isn't. This one needs to get into the fray. They need to start putting shots in. It's unhurt thanks to being this far away, but this little pop gun is not going to do a lot against the ACVs, I don't think. Meanwhile, you see the explosions sprinkling off of the Thork's holes. They have much more durable armor than the ACVs do. Obviously, the ACVs are getting hurt pretty badly. We've lost two, a couple of others down to 68, 77%, 79%. But even with the loss of some turrets and some tanks, they still have way more firepower than the Thorks do. And unless a couple of them get despawned really quickly, another Thork is going down. I believe it's this one. Yeah, it's this one right here. Nope, it's not. I don't know which one it is. One of the Thorks has been disqualified. I don't know why. I don't know what killed it. I'm guessing it got killed by ACV. Oh, man. Another ACV losing its turret. No, that's the same one. Let me see if I can count here. I've got a Thork over here with a turret, a Thork here with a turret fighting against ACV. I believe they're both trying to shoot that one. No, that was not shooting. The Thorks are just... I want to say it looks like the Thorks have stronger guns than the ACVs do. But due to the fact that there is actually either even numbers of, yeah, there's even numbers of tanks, and the ACVs fire so much faster, they're able to do enough damage to disable the majority of the Thork's firepower a lot quicker, and there goes another turret. If they can pop those turrets, the Thorks have, while they're still alive, the Thorks still have no way of firing back, and if you have no way of firing back, you're going to get whittled down by this overwhelming firepower. For a second there, it was starting to look like the Thorks were going to make a comeback, going to start plowing through some ACVs and getting them out of the fight, diminishing the amount of shells coming at them, but it's just not been enough. I think the turnaround came too little too late, and while we might lose another ACV over here, this may get popped down by this Thork. Highly unlikely at this point, given the way that turret's behaving. I don't think it's going to be enough. The main body of the battle group Delta 6 is still over here, piling into the remaining Thorks, the ones that seem to still have working turrets, and I don't think it's going to be enough. They have run out. The Thorks, as I said at the start of this match, they need to not have... They need to not lose a lot of tanks, because the fewer tanks there are, the less chance there is that the remaining ACVs will get distracted and spread their fire around. When these tanks focus fire, they are at their deadliest, and now with fewer and fewer Thorks within range to shoot at, the ACVs are more and more likely to destroy the remaining ones quicker. It becomes a snowball effect. Yeah, this one Thork just getting absolutely pulverized. Every little tick of damage is not a lot for each shot, and you can see the armor is holding up decently against these shells. It may look like there's a lot of explosions, but they're not doing a ton of damage. But there's so many of them hitting that it becomes a cumulative effect. And those explosions do affect blocks next to them, so they have an AoE effect, where over time multiple blocks are getting damaged and shot off at a time. There's another shell kind of lobbing very lamely and kind of plunking into the side of an ACV. It's got its gun back, but it's not firing very fast. I think there's supposed to be railgun APS coming out of the Thorks, and they're not shooting with the kind of velocity a railgun should shoot with. This Thork is still dueling with the ACV, still trying to figure out what it's going to do. It looks like the ACV has lost most of its barrel and been kind of disabled. It's still firing, still trying to chew through the Thork's superior armor. The Thorks do seem to have a much larger armor supply. Oh, look at that, though. I haven't been paying attention to the totals. The ACVs have taken a decent amount of damage, and even though their firepower is superior to the Thorks are able to repair, and the ACVs don't appear to be capable of that, and another ACV loses its turret. Oh, that's not good. Man, this has been back and forth. We're down to 2 minutes, 45 seconds on the clock as another ACV has been disabled, not despawned, but without its turret, it's one less gun shooting into these Thorks. And the Thorks, you see here, taking a lot of shots, but it seems like they have repaired all those hits. 2 functioning railguns seems to punch through very well, and when they hit those turrets, the turrets pop on the ACVs very quickly, it would seem. There's a dead ACV. I don't know if it's got AI. It's got AI. It's just, it seems the gun has been either run out of ammo or it's been disabled to some capacity. This one on the hill seems to be stuck. Doesn't care. It's going to keep popping shots into them. But the remaining Thorks now climbing the hills, repairing. The longer they're left alone, the more time they have to use that massive material bank you see in the top right to repair their damage. And the more damage they can repair, the more turrets they get back online, the sooner they start deleting the rest of these ACVs, and now it's definitely swinging in favor of the Thorks. Man, this has gone all over the place, and I probably have missed some key turning points, but honestly, I feel like this was anyone's battle to win at the start. It has been anyone's battle to win up till now. It still might be anyone's battle to win, but I think the Thorks have finally hit that turning point. They've hit critical mass. They've kept enough guns alive long enough to the point where they can start pushing through the barrage of heat and hesh that the ACVs lay down, and Battle Group Delta 6 is now starting to fall apart. And I think a lot of it comes down to the fact that Battle Group Delta 6, while very effective in the damage department, does not have a lot of repairs. They have they just do not, and they don't use a lot of materials for ammunition or fuel. You see in the top left, they don't seem to use a lot of their starting materials to fill their tanks. But all that extra material is being wasted when you don't have repair bots to put it into use. If you have repair bots and you have the ability to absorb materials back into your tank, that can increase your longevity by a huge margin. And we're seeing here the Thorks are making the best use of that, while the ACVs don't have any repairs that I can see, and they're getting slowly whittled down and picked apart because they can't kill off their opponents fast enough. Another 2 ACVs go down, and suddenly we're looking at a 5 to 8 ratio, where the Thorks now largely outnumber the ACVs, and the ACVs are just struggling. The few that still have guns are struggling to do any damage at all. And that little pop gun I talked about, while it didn't look so powerful, is definitely doing work. And then the larger guns from the bigger Thorks are just absolutely pulverizing the ACVs. They're beautiful holes and designs, slowly being picked apart, shredded, and pulverized by the Thork's superior guns. Slower firing, yes, but they have a greater penetrative value, and they seem to have a greater explosive value too, doing a lot of damage to that ACV. I'm going to look and see if this ACV has any repairs. I don't see any repairs going on. This one doesn't appear to have been touched, though. Yeah, I don't see any repair bots. I mean, those are sparkles and shines from the cannon round striking it. But yeah, no, there's no repair bots on these ACVs. And now all 3 of these Thorks, several of which were critically injured at one point, to the point they had no guns, are fully repaired and shooting back. And there goes another ACV's turret. This Thork, I believe both of these were missing their guns at one point, and now they have been fully recovered. And that's the end of the timer. We're going to end with a 30.8% to 69.2% victory for the Thork 17th Armored Corps, and that means that Battle Group Delta 6 has been eliminated from the tournament and will not be continuing. Congratulations, AdNecrias. You're going to be pushing on to make a name for yourself at the end of this tournament if you can survive. And Volken, thank you for participating. Thank you both for participating. Thank you all for watching. I've been Chromoid, and I'll see you guys in the next match.